Okay, we're live. The meeting is
Okay,
yours,
good
Mr.
evening,
President.
everybody. I'd like to call the regular council meeting virtually of the Village of Wolverine Lake to order for Wednesday, May 12th. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
to the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Goff,
Here, Wolverine Lake, Michigan.
Dumont,
Here, Wolverine Lake, Michigan.
Giromini,
Here, Wolverine Lake, Michigan.
Malik,
Here, Wolverine Lake.
McNutt,
Here, Wolverine Lake.
O'Brien,
Here, Wolverine Lake.
Nedrow.
Here, Wolverine Lake. Okay, as far as the agenda goes, I don't believe we have any additions to business. Is that correct, Dave?
No additions tonight. Thank you.
Okay. So, a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. President, are we going to 9C?
What was that, Mark?
I believe we were going to take 9C off the agenda and move that to the admin committee.
Yeah, we could talk about it when we get to that item, I guess. We could we'll touch base on it.
Motion to approve.
Okay, well, that was a motion by Dumont, I guess, second by Duff. Is that correct? Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Dumont,
Yes.
Giromini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Okay, I don't believe we really have any correspondence that I can remember or any other information. So at this point, I guess we'll open the call to the public if we have anybody on.
Callers, if you would like to make a comment, just press *9 on your keypad and that will raise your hand and then we will call on you. Okay. Caller 5767. Looks like you're unmuted already, so say your name and address for the record and then go ahead.
Okay, Dave Renwick, 685 Amenia. I just wondered if in the budget discussions there is any idea or opportunity to cancel the trash collection fee.
Well, at this point, Mr. Renwick, we're going to have our budget work session later on this month. So we just received it moments ago here. So at that point, I guess we'll probably be discussing another work session.
But has there been any talk about canceling the trash fee?
We really haven't discussed the budget at this point, so.
Okay, is the trash fee included in the budget this year?
I'm sure it is. So to answer your question, no, we have not discussed it because we haven't discussed the budget yet.
Okay.
Okay?
Are the people aware that the money that is being spent on the parks is indirectly coming from that trash fee? Are the new guys on council aware of that?
I guess at this point, this is a comment session. It's not a question and answer period, Mr. Renwick.
It only seems to be a question and answer period when council wants to answer questions. I'll just say
That's unfair, Mr. Renwick.
No, that's not unfair. That's a fact.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you're more than welcome to discuss the budget at the budget work session. It is an open meeting.
Well, I would just like to go on record as saying that it's been a charade the last 10 years. It's been an absolute, you have quietly amassed a year's worth of budget money in the general fund to use as you please. And that's sad. It's sad that it got past the people. It's sad that no one has come forward and said, there's no way we should have this much money in the general fund. And it's also sad that Commerce Township in the last election put their parks program, their parks plan on the ballot. And I encouraged you guys to do that, and you didn't. So Commerce Township had faith in their people to make the right decision. And maybe Wolverine Lake should do the same thing next time. In fact, maybe Wolverine Lake should delay their plans and let the people make that decision of that much money being spent on parks, rather than just saying, oh, we're going to do it. And we've got it because we've collected a trash fee, and that left money all over the place. So it'd be nice if one of the new guys took that up, because I know the old guys won't. I know you guys have made your decision already. But it'd be nice if somebody took that up. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Renwick. Anybody else in the public that would like to speak? Going
No
once.
more callers at the moment.
Going twice. Okay, we'll close the call to the public. Consideration of the consent agenda. So,
Motion to approve.
motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Mr. Dumont. Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Alec,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 9A, recommendation to council to appoint Ed Sikowitz as an alternate member on the ZBA for term expiring 12/31 of this year.
Make a motion.
It's a motion by
I
Mr. Duff,
second it.
second by Mr. Malik. Any discussion? I think Ed would be good for ZBA. He's been around the village for a long time, and he's been very experienced and knowledgeable about village matters. So with that, roll call vote, please.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien. O'Brien,
Maybe get back to him.
Yes.
come back. Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
O'Brien.
We already had it, Brian. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to item B, which is a recommendation to council to appoint Robert Jankowski to the Water Management Board for term expiring 12/31 of 2022.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Dumont, second by McNutt. Any discussion?
Wouldn't this take the water board, and this I guess goes with C on this agenda item as well? This will add 2 members beyond their, is there any issue with that, their ability to just have
Well,
members
Well,
beyond
currently
the-
they're down 2 members right now. Their board is supposed to have 9 members. That board used to have 9 members. So currently, I believe they have 7 members. So putting Mr. Jankowski on is no problem. I mean, they still have 1 vacancy to fill on that board. So there could be
Okay,
a
it
second.
was a matter of just discussions that they'd had in their meetings and things that I'd seen, that I wasn't sure if they were at capacity or not, so.
No.
I know as President Nedrow has indicated, they are not at capacity per ordinance. The Water Management Board has 9 members. I've talked with Mike Hurst, the chair. They currently have 7. So yeah,
Okay.
they're looking to fill open seats, not add additional seats to the board.
Okay, so we have a motion before us, so roll call vote, please.
Wait. We have some discussion here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Bob, sorry. I'm not
Well,
trying to rush
well, my
things
only,
through.
well, I'm kind of going to jump ahead here a little because the next item is C, which is recommending an additional person to the water board. But that person happens to be on Parks and Recs already.
Well, can we discuss
So, I
that
mean-
on C? Let's,
Pardon?
I said, can we discuss that when we get to item C?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. If you take on item B, then you've added 8 people if we don't pass C.
So
And you
There's
have
the
the
boards
number
and
of
commission-
people on the board.
Routinely have operated with even.
boards and commissions operate as a law, at a deficit lot. I mean, planning, we've had 7, 8, 9 people on planning commission a lot. So I mean, if we don't have a full board with 9 people on planning, we're losing,
Okay,
lose a member, we
my
still
point
have 8.
is this, we're talking about an even number if C doesn't pass.
Parks
Yeah,
and
but
Rec
that-
currently is on
that-
A. so-
Wait a minute, that possibly creates a deadlock. That's all I'm asking that in advance.
Yeah, but I mean, how do you fill a board then? I mean, if that's the case, Bob, we could only fill it if we have 2 applicants?
No,
I know.
fine, go ahead.
I don't think it's a procedural issue, really. I mean, we're trying to fill the board anyway, so. I understand what you're saying, but at that point, you maybe have to persuade somebody to vote to the point where you don't have a deadlock on an issue. So,
Fine.
okay. Any other comments? I happen to know Rob. He lives down the street from me, and I think he'd be a good addition to the water board, so.
No, I don't have a problem with that at all. Okay, so take your roll call and we'll go from there.
Okay. Anybody else? Roll call vote, please.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Malik.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item C. Recommendation to council to appoint Lori Longbreak as Parks and Recreation Liaison to the Water Management Board for 2020. Now, before we move on this, I'd like to point out that by our ordinance, Parks and Rec, Planning Commission, and Water Management Board all have 9 people on that, each one of those boards, with 2 liaisons, one of being to the Planning Commission and one being to council. All the other members are non-liaison positions. So I guess, I don't know how that would fare it out, but what I'd like to try to do at this point, because of how the ordinance is written, I'd like to probably try to send this to an administrative committee to make a decision and try to work through how we would even go about something like that. And I guess I know that in the past, the fishing tournament, we've had a couple other projects or activities, I guess you could say, where the water board and the water management board have worked together on a program. But it wasn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to have a liaison position in place for that. So I guess legally, I think we should probably send it to an admin committee to discuss how it might possibly work or even be filled.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we send it to the admin committee.
I second that motion.
Motion by Duff, second by Malik. Any discussion on that?
Would this be a new position? We don't have anything like this and haven't had one in the past, right?
No, and it goes
Correct.
against our charter, actually.
Yeah, it's by ordinance. It would be, we might have to change the ordinance. Administrator Gillum and I discussed it briefly here earlier, and it's not the way our ordinance is set up for boards and commissions. So,
Is the administrative board the best place to bring this?
It's an administrative role, yeah.
now I guess if Ms. Longbreak wanted to just get on the water board as a second board without the liaison position, I mean, there would be no problem with that. I mean, there's been other people that have served multiple boards and commissions. So it just would not be a liaison position. So she could fill the 9th spot on the water board if that was a recommendation for the water board, I guess. And I guess at this point, I'm not sure where they're going with it. I haven't talked to the water board chair, and I know Dave has briefly, but I don't know him necessarily in this respect, so.
My understanding from talking with Mike Hurst is that, number one, he was interested in filling the board. But number two, based upon some events and activities in projects that the water board is looking at and talking about, they saw some commonality of interest with some of the things going on at the Parks and Recreation Board. And so he thought there might be some benefit to having a member of the Parks and Rec Board also sit on the Water Management Board as well. So.
Okay, well, I think that we could probably hash that out maybe through admin committee and then bring it back to council.
Yeah, it sounds like you just take the liaison part out of it and it's fine, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm seeing it at this point.
Yeah.
And again, there's been boards and commissions that have worked together in the past on like the fishing tournament. Like I said, that was Parks and Rec and Water Board worked together for years, putting that together and helping out each other. So, but there was no liaison position. So that's where the stickler is on this whole thing, I think, more than anything. So with that, I guess roll call vote.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Giromini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on, 10, item 1, Clara Miller restroom update from our engineer Powell. And we got a payment request for property renewal LLC in the amount of $38,146.
Yes, thank you, council. And this should be pretty straightforward in that in keeping track of all the payments that have been made and the original contract amount and some extras that have been authorized to the contractor. Well, let me back up. I've inspected the entire project. It's really, in my opinion, come along very well. There are some miscellaneous little things that I've come up with just a preliminary checklist. I found a small little item on the roof, and there are a couple items on some concrete items and some miscellaneous painting, things like that. Well under what I would recommend of holding the 10% as presented here. So in my recommendation is to pay 90% of the quoted price and leave a 10% left for the final checklist that I would bring to council at a later date.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Dumont, second by Duff. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Giromini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
And it looks like everything's moving on pretty good with it. I mean, I just drove by the last couple of days and there was somebody working late last night even on it. And,
Well, I kind of threatened him. I wanted it open before tonight's meeting, and he said it might be tomorrow morning before it's open, but it's really open. It's ready to open to the public. So
I believe the DPW still has some water clarification that they need to take care of, right?
yes, they actually chlorinate all the lines within the building, and then have to let it run for 24 hours, and that still needs to be done before we can let the public in. That's correct.
Mr. President, if I could add a comment on that.
Sure.
We had hoped that the building would be in a position where it could be open to the public, but as you and Mr. Powell have just indicated, it's not quite there yet. We had originally scheduled to have the porta-john removed today in anticipation of the restroom facility being open. When we learned today that it wasn't quite going to be fully operational, I called the Porta-John company, and unfortunately I missed them. They had already picked up the Porta-John that was on site. So they will be taking a Porta-John back. They'll hopefully have it back in place by Friday. So it'll be there for the weekend, and we'll leave it there until the concession building is fully functional.
And we're expecting that's going to be done at least before Memorial Day.
Yeah, and just to be safe, the outdate that I gave the Porta-John company today was going to be roughly the middle of June. So we'll make sure that there is a functional bathroom up there going forward. So.
Great. Super. Anything else on that, Mr. Cowell?
No, that one's very good, and I've scheduled a couple meetings with the contractor to go over the punch list items and make sure everything else is taken care of. Oh, one other thing. Let me just present. I designed the sidewalk to go from the upper level, the front part of the restrooms, down to the door, down to the man door. I mean the roll-up door. I designed that just to tie the two areas together. If you recall, the original design was just the overhead roll-up door, and it was going to have an apron in front of it for Park and Rec to come in and out. There was no reason to link the two sides together. Once we put the service door in, I said, well, we ought to at least provide a pathway for people to walk from the upper level, entry to the restrooms, down to the service window. And so I did that as a small sidewalk, a 3-foot walkway just around to the window. After looking at it outside, quite frankly, it looks a little skimpy. And so I'm going to get a price and see if we can't double the width and at least make that 6 feet wide for a substantial walkway down to the lower area and maybe a little bigger entry to the main roll-up door. So I'm going to present that to Administrator Gillum as well.
I think that would be good because it does look a little thin down there.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. With that, moving on to item B, which is a Benzine Pathway payment request for JJM Backhoe Services LLC in the amount of $1,789.95.
Yeah, this is a very straightforward in that there's obviously restoration to be done, and the paving contractor, we didn't want to pay a paving contractor to do it. And Jeff does his usually very good job, and he quite frankly stays up on it, and he knows he has a little overseeding to do in order to make sure it comes up thick. And so I feel very comfortable in recommending this payment to JJM.
And this was in a retainer anyways from the project.
It was, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Make the motion, Mr. President.
I'd like to second it.
Motion by Duff, second by Malik. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes, and I'm glad to say that that project is finally done.
Yes, absolutely.
Been one of those that's been lingering on for years, a couple of years.
Yes, thank you very much, Council.
Perfect. We have no public hearings tonight, so at this point, we're going to move on to 12A1, which is a Parks and Rec recommendation to allow Eagle Scout Ignatius Gutton build a pavilion in Collier Miller Park at the Vita Trail Veterans Memorial Site off of Glengarry. And I guess, first of all, we really don't have a whole lot of information. I'm assuming this is going to be kind of a informational setting right now. So I guess we turn it over to Mark or Ignatius, or Mark, if you want to introduce it.
Yeah, I met Ignatius a few weeks ago at the memorial. He was helping with another Eagle Scout project. And he approached me with wondering if we had any interest in having a pavilion constructed in that area. And it's one of those things in the master plan. It's certainly a great project that they could do. And so we took it to Parks and Rec, and they also thought it would be a great idea. And so invited Ignatius to come here today and provide more detail and see if it's something we'd like to move forward with.
Okay.
All right.
Ignatius, you want to fill us in?
Yeah. So I'm Ignatius from Troop 9914 in White Lake. And I recently have started doing my Eagle Scout project stuff. And I was going to do a pavilion at Duck Lake Pines, but Rick Hamill wouldn't get back to me. So I decided to do something else somewhere else. And so I noticed that the park was really empty. So I was like, maybe here. So I talked to him. And then if I can, I would like to share my screen to show everyone my Eagle proposal. Is that okay?
Sure, I would think so.
All right. Alrighty, so this is my Eagle proposal, and
wow,
I'm gonna make it bigger real quick, so it's easier to see.
You can't trust a scout. Who can you trust, right?
Yeah. So I'm Ignatius, or I've already read that to you. This is the picture of the pavilion that my uncle built back in 2003. He did this for an Eagle Scout project as well. And so we were going to build one like across the parking lot from his. And it is going to be 12 by 20. Here's my contact information if you would like it as well. And then, do you see the pavilion now? Or no?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
up.
you do? Okay. So this is a plan for the pavilion. It's going to be a 12 by 20. If that's too big, we can change it. It's not completely set in stone yet. I was looking about $5,000 is about the estimated price for what we want to do. We're not going to put picnic tables in it. We're going to use the picnic tables probably from Michael's project and just use them there. But it is going to have a 612 pitch, and the concrete is going to be like it's not going to be like all the way down. It's going to be like a thin, flat surface of concrete. That's pretty much it.
Okay. I guess not knowing we don't have a whole lot of information. I haven't had any discussion on this, so
yeah.
I guess question is a couple questions I can see right off the get go is you mentioned that it's going to be around $5,000. Is there any funding mechanism for this?
Well,
what are you looking at as far as how to pay for it or whatever?
So I normally will collect bottles for Boy Scout money for like going on trips and stuff. So I was going to do that and then probably go to some local stores and see if that I could have them put like a jar up or something saying like, this is my Eagle project. And if you can donate some change, that would be nice and something like that. And then I would probably, if I could, ask to use some money from you guys.
Okay. What about possibly Lowe's might be able to get you some shingles or some.
Yeah,
I mean, lumber's going through the roof, so.
Yeah, I have connections with both of my grandparents. My one grandparent is Jack Law. He owns Renovations Roofing and Remodeling.
Ah.
And then my other grandpa is Kurt Rushlow. He owns his own company called Rushlow and Sons Construction. So.
Okay.
And we have like a little inside at Iverson's, so we would probably be able to get a little bit easier prices.
Okay. Okay, you mentioned, I guess, a couple questions for maybe our engineer while we're talking about it here. You mentioned about a thin layer of concrete, so I guess what might that be, Ignatius, and what might be required, Mike?
So basically it's gonna be like probably I would say maybe like I don't know like exact details because I'm not a concrete person and my grandpa's not either of them, so I'm not very well educated on concrete.
Well, I guess the question I had was what might we need, because this is going to be a public park, so
Yeah.
I mean,
What's the code?
we have to follow through, whatever is required for, for public to be able to utilize something like that.
Yeah, what's the code?
Code. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the code for Wolverine Lake yet.
Mr. Powell, would you have any comments?
I can. Certainly the code would be 4 inches, but the structure is going to be exposed to the weather and the frost, freeze, thaw cycle. So I designed the slab for the workout facility out there in the same area, and that is a 6-inch slab, and it's really held up well. So that's probably a little more expensive than Ignatius can handle. Also, code, this building will have to be presented and I believe sealed by an engineer or architect in order to get a building permit for it. And certainly I know somebody that's a PE, so we could probably work on that pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And the foundations, the columns have to be held down and tied to the ground, and it has to be on foundation. So all of that can be worked out, and I'd be glad to work with the young man in the building department.
That'd be great. Ignatius, what's your timing? I mean, what do you have? I know Eagle Scout projects can.
It's
you got a timeline.
like ASAP. I turn 18 in like 7 months.
Okay.
November.
So you're talking before snow flies.
If possible, yes.
Okay. Well, I know we had, the only reason I'm a little concerned about it is we had another Eagle Scout project that we had over in Amenia Park where the scout ended up putting a swing set together, and it didn't meet code. So he went to all that work, put the thing together, and then we weren't able to keep it at the park. So we would like to make sure that, if you were to move forward with something like this, that we make sure that we can make sure everything fits and it's legal for the village.
My papa, the one who owns Russell and Sons Construction, he's built multiple pole barns and like pavilions for people who live around like the Highland area, like pretty much all over Michigan. He's been building pole barns and stuff, so he knows what he's doing. And I'm pretty sure he would build it up to. Yeah, he's pretty experienced.
And it sounds like he could work with our village engineer. It sounds like he's willing to help you out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. He was also a scoutmaster, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well,
Mr. President, Bob Malik.
Yeah, Bob.
Where are they thinking about putting this pavilion exactly?
So by the Wolverine Lake, I think it's the Veteran Memorial that was just done.
Right.
Right by the fitness area. There's like a big open area right behind it. And I was thinking maybe there, but I don't know exactly.
When you say behind it, you talking south of it or east or west?
West.
On the west side?
I think southwest. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Powell, question for you, because I know when we went to extend the parking lot and we put the Veterans Memorial in that position, there was some drainage issue, I believe, to the south of the parking lot. Was that correct?
That is correct. To the south and towards the east, we expect water to be ponding in those areas. So south and west would be an appropriate location for drainage anyway.
Good. Okay. Well, I guess I think it's kind of a nice, neat idea. I mean, we could probably utilize a pavilion over there. I don't know what council's comments are or how quick we could get funding, or you're going to be able to get funding together, and that's something we'd have to work through budget wise or whatever too. So
I do have one more thing to add. I also have $2,000 already towards it.
Oh, nice.
In bottle returns.
That's a lot of bottles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been collecting for a while.
Okay.
At any point, are we concerned with the visual impact from any of the residents that back up to that?
Guess that's a question.
Just throwing it
For
out there.
me,
No, for us.
okay.
I think there's a lot of questions that still haven't really been answered, Mr. President. I would
Yeah.
think that we perhaps want to take and allow people to take and have some commentary in terms of this also. And I would really like to see some actual numbers once our Mr. Powell has helped with this and see exactly where we're at. Because I think, again, it's a great idea. I like it. But I'm kind of concerned in terms of building cost of everything has gone through the roof recently. So we really don't know, what the
Yeah, if we
numbers are.
could get more of an idea, and maybe Ignatius could even look at a couple different size buildings. So
Mhm.
something, could be downsized if to fit his,
Budget, yeah.
his budget and basically, what we might want size wise over there too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's completely negotiable. Like this is like an estimate of what I want to build, so we can work on it.
Okay.
Bob Malik here. I guess I throw this to Mr. Condick. Do we have money in the general funds that if we foot the money for the cement slab, it is there and available?
More from the Parks Fund, actually.
Okay, well, however,
Yeah.
Nothing specific. And again, Mr. Duff's point is well taken. We need to do a budget, see what we could come up with. The concrete was very expensive for the exercise pavilion, exercise pad, I should say. And depending on thickness and all that sort of thing, we'd have to, but to answer the main question, there's nothing in the budget for this. And I wouldn't even know what figure to use until we see a budget for the project thrown together.
okay.
Well, let me ask Ignatius, would you be able to put some numbers together within the next couple weeks?
Yeah.
You think? Because we're going to have a budget work session later on this month. And maybe that might be a good time for you to come back and maybe give us some ideas on what kind of costs are involved in a project like this. And
Okay.
what's council's comments? Any other comments from council on it?
Maybe just a drawing as to the location of exactly where in the park so everybody can visualize it.
Right.
I can
I
do
would agree
that
with that.
too.
Or some pictures or whatever. Yeah. Some
Yeah,
renderings.
When this was done, this was a pretty quick fix, and I didn't have any time to go actually to the park and take pictures. I had pictures of Duck Lake Pines and everything.
Okay. Well,
So
if that might be something you might be able to do in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, to kind of give us an idea, because we are going to be discussing our budget. And that way we might be able to see what might be available or see what kind of scope of project you're looking at. Because I have no idea. I know lumber's gone through the roof. So
Yeah.
Concrete has too.
But if we could get a cost estimate together, and bring it back to us, and at that point, maybe we can make a decision, on probably in June. I would hope that we would be able to make a decision on whether we could move forward or.
I have another thing to add as well.
Okay.
So we did get an estimate. It was just not found in time, but the total estimate so far is $3,300
For the wood and.
Yes, for the wood, just the wood.
So, yeah, so we got concrete and foundations.
When did you get that estimate?
Yeah. Okay. Concept.
Oh, are you
wise,
asking when I got it?
When did you get the estimate?
Oh,
Because,
sorry.
Again,
Oh, sorry, Mark.
prices of wood have quadrupled in the last 3 weeks.
I got it in January.
Yeah, it's
It's
probably
been
about
double
80%
raised,
difference
yeah.
now.
Okay.
It's gone up quite a bit
Yeah.
since then, yeah. Well, I guess at this point, I mean, that would probably be the way to go, would be to get
Yeah,
some accurate costs
Yep.
together on it and maybe try to get some, pin down some of those details
Yeah.
and bring it to our work session here
Mhm.
in a couple weeks.
I'd also like something sent out to the village residents in terms of their input. Because the fact that they had an issue with an electric sign in that same general area, they might very well not like a pavilion there. Just throwing it out there.
Sure.
I agree with you, Mark.
Thanks, Mike.
So, who would I need to be contacting for the location and working that stuff out?
Well, council, I think I'm probably the logical contact person
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
Okay.
on this point. So Ignatius, I can get you my contact information, then as needed, then I can follow up with Mr. Powell.
Yeah.
On our end, and then you can work with the contacts that you've got on your end. We'll see if we can gather up all the information that it sounds like the council's going to need for them to discuss. We do have a budget work session, as President Nedrow has indicated, 2 weeks from tonight. And then 2 weeks after that is our next regular meeting. So, I mean, in theory, if all of the information was provided and everything was going to work out, we might even be able to get approval for you to move forward in a month at the June meeting. So,
All right. Thank you.
Ignatius, thank you for your interest.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Very much. It's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think
great
everybody
idea.
agrees it's a great idea. It's,
Yeah,
give all the
Mark
other
said a
information.
bunch of people were on board with it, so.
Well, the Veterans Memorial has been a nice addition to that area and, I mean, a lot of people are using that recreational pad there. So,
Mhm.
maybe having a little pavilion would be a nice little thing to do over in that area and make it a little bit more usable. There seems like there is a lot of interest in utilizing that area, and there's a lot of people that use the walkway and pathway running back and forth. So,
Mhm.
that might be a stop-off area. So,
Yep. But we got to know the cost. It's it's not our money, it's the village's money. So
yep, that's right.
Right.
So I think it's an interesting project and
Yeah.
could work out well. So thank you very much
Thank
for bringing it to us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
okay, Ignatius and you and I, let's keep in touch on this, okay?
We will.
Very good. I don't think we really have anything else on this project at this point, is there? Anybody?
No,
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And again, we'll move on. Where am I at here? Parks and Rec, item 2. Recommend council to release budgeted funds from the beautification committee to purchase a wheelbarrow, a shovel, a rake, and other necessities.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dumont.
As long as I don't have to use it.
What's that?
As long as I don't have to use it.
Okay, I hear a second on that. Second by O'Brien. And again, this is from budgeted funds, I guess. So any discussion?
how much
Yeah.
is it?
go ahead, Mark.
Oh, I was just curious in terms of what the sum was. It's not listed on the agenda.
Well, part of that is, there is about $2,200 left in that account, in that budgeted item. And so the main thing to purchase is actually going to be plants to be put into where all the new signs have been put in.
Okay, but that's not what's
then-
on the agenda. The
and then,
agenda
well,
lists
I
a
understand.
wheelbarrow, a shovel, and a rake. I was just curious in terms of what the total of that was.
And I don't think that she priced those out. I think it was because I think she frankly our main focus was actually about the plants and less about the tools that would be stored at the village, but it was just a matter of needing something to,
So
Operate with these.
is the motion for the wheelbarrow, rake, and shovel, or is it for plants? Because that's not what not what's on the agenda.
Well, as it says, other necessities, so this was kind of I'm frankly, I was a little surprised at how it came out, this motion from the meeting in terms of how it was written, but the idea is to purchase the things needed for these signs so that we can get the plants in in May. And then,
Okay, well, let me ask a question then, Mark. Would a budget, would a motion that says to approve budgeted funds up to $2,200 for those amenities and I mean, if that's what we have left on that budget, not to exceed $2,200?
it would be more, it should be more than sufficient, and it is Julia that is running this, and there is nobody more down to the penny kind of concerned than she is. So yeah, absolutely. That's a perfectly reasonable way to go about it. And this, especially with this year where we're having to replace almost, I mean, we salvaged what we could from the old signs, but there's a lot of new plants that need to go in to fix up everything around those.
Let me ask Mr. Conduct, we have $2,200 left on that budget then?
Yeah, I'm at home and I'm sorry, Mr. President, I don't have the exact number available. Let me hang on.
Well, it'd be for the beautification committee, I guess, right? So at that point, I mean, that budget will be up at the end of June. So.
Bear with me just one quick second. I'm
Sure.
sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I can come up with that.
Well, Mr. Condick, while you're doing that, I have a question.
For me?
If we purchase these items, where are they going to be stored if the people
I was
that
curious
are on
about
the
that
Parks
myself.
and Recs want to do stuff weekends? Yeah, I mean, we're not going to have them access to the village garage and things. So where would this stuff be stored?
In the new
storage room over at the park.
I don't know. Do they have access to it? I have no idea. Does everybody have access? Who does, who doesn't?
Before somebody proffers an answer to that question, that $2,300 number looks about right. So good. There's three things in there, three components of that. One is holiday decorations, and then yard and ground maintenance, and then the beautification kind of generic sort of total. So yeah, we're well within budget if 2,200 is the number that we were considering.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kundak. So I guess the question would be, Mark, if I mean, I guess what was ever decided as far as access to that storage area? I mean, is Parks and Rec going to have access to the storage area off hours, or I guess we have?
They're going to need it at very minimum at times.
Yeah, I would think so.
Most events are after hours.
Right.
So there's got to be some ability to access that in normal times, and to get in there to use the actual concession.
So I guess that's probably the answer to Mr. Malik's question. It would be stored over at the park storage area, and they'll work out how to get access to it.
So would they be stored over there eventually? Because right now the contractor's in charge of that building and technically is responsible for it, we'll say.
Well,
we're not
in 2 weeks. That'll be it. Virtually is done tomorrow, Dave. I mean, we just can't use the bathrooms and the water right now, from what Mr. Powell said earlier. So. I don't think storage of a couple items, but sounds like they want to try to get the plants around the signs, and this is the time of year to put the plants around the signs. So, I mean,
just to clarify, I'm not against it in any way, but I just want to make sure that it's accessible for the Parks and Recs people, because, if they have jobs or different things, they might want to work on weekends. I want to make sure it's an accessible item to them and we don't have any conflicts. That's all.
Agreed.
Well, I think what I would envision is that someone on the Parks and Recreation Board would have a key to be able to access the building. We'll also have keys here at the Village Hall, and the police department will have keys too, if they needed to access the building in the event of an emergency. They're the ones that are going to be responsible for locking up the restrooms at night and opening in the mornings and such anyway, so.
I think that can be worked out. The details on that can be worked out. So it's just a matter of I guess, Mark, the only question probably would have helped this whole situation would be have a better outline of what the expenses were going to be and how they're going to be expended. So,
Yeah, a little bit more detail in all of our motions wouldn't hurt anything. It would speed our meetings along. And then we'd know with greater accuracy what we're voting on.
Not even that, but it's a lot more transparent in terms of the public too. Again, it's taxpayer money.
So I guess if we had an idea, obviously it's going to be less than $2,200 is what we're looking at spending, but we just don't know how much less than that. So if we put
Do
a
we
not
know
to
that,
exceed
though?
on for the plants right now, huh?
Mr. President, do we know that though? If you don't exceed 2,200, they can spend up to 2,200,
That's right. That's what I'm
right?
saying.
I mean,
Yep.
and that's the problem is the vagueness of what's listed on the agenda doesn't actually say plants.
Yep, I understand.
And that's my point. As I say, I don't like voting on something that I don't know the numbers for when we're playing again with taxpayer money.
Mm-hmm. Understand. I guess, do you have an idea, Mark, on plants? How much you're talking? I mean, a decent wheelbarrow is a couple $100.
Well, I know that we're
$50
talking,
for a rake. So,
well, we're talking the electrical signs, all the park signs, all being having been landscaped in the past year. So all those will be planted or have plantings put in, and then also want to do a little work at Amenia and things like that. So it is a significant number of sites that we want to put in, and we've got some general designs and things that are about them to give us a guide of what we're going to stock them with, in mixing in what we have that we were able to salvage, and then adding some new perennials that will stay there for as long as possible.
well,
It just, no offense to anyone, Mark, but it just sounds like, hey, there's some money left in this account, so let's figure out something to do with it.
Yeah, let's spend it.
Yeah, spend it.
Well,
Not have real details.
I understand that it sounds like that, but I mean, I guess I would point out that once those signs were, the signs all around the village were put in back in September, October last year, it was then the beautification committee, Parks and Rec members that did go out and re-edge them and add fresh soil and add mulch
Yep.
to get them all set up and ready to go for this year.
right.
So. and
I'm not
then-
disagreeing with the need
No,
of
I
it.
understand. No, I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm not either. What I'm saying is the way that the motion came out of the
Right.
committee is extremely vague, and essentially we have $2,200 left over and we just need accessories. Accessories can be a lot of things.
Well, we can of course propose a motion that is far more specific if desired.
Do you have
to
dollar amounts?
satisfy- Not on the plants, no, I don't.
Do you have dollar amounts on the wheelbarrow,
No.
rake, and shovel?
No.
Okay, I have a question, Bob Malik. If you have $2,200, if we were to allocate half of that to get your wheelbarrow, get your rakes, get your shovels, and purchase up to $1,100 worth of your mulch or whatever, you're not going to finish this whole project before our next council meeting, which we could then allocate the balance if needed.
They've already got the mulch in. I think they're just talking
Yeah,
about
mulch
the
is in.
plantings, right? Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I don't have a clue on how many plants you're talking about putting in. I know we got what, 8, 9 signs, and we got, like I said, some areas around the Media Park, probably, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. There are.
Well, that's why I recommend half of what is allocated at this point. You get your wheelbarrow, you get your shovels, and you'll get a start. You can't finish it all before June, because this month's almost gone.
To your point, Bob, though, the motion that they're asking for, there's no way that's
I
that's over $500. A wheelbarrow, a rake, and a shovel don't cost $1,000.
300 tops.
Let me do this.
But it
Let
does
me
say other.
let me do this. Let me withdraw my motion, and then a new motion can be made with more specifics.
Okay.
And I think that'll make all of council, including myself, more comfortable with this.
I'll make a motion that we give $500 for a wheelbarrow, not to exceed $500 for a wheelbarrow, shovel, and a rake.
Motion by
I'll
Duff,
second that motion.
second by Malik. Discussion.
I would point out that at this point, that's great, but without the ability to purchase plants, they're not as critical of a component.
But the motion isn't asking for plants. If it asked for plants, that'd be different. But you didn't ask for plants. You asked for accessories.
Yeah, that's
not how this game works, dude.
I understand. I mean, I think I would trust the beautification committee to go out and purchase plants, but I'll tell you what, I mean, we need to have some clear motions too, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
This isn't an unending fund of money. This is taxpayer money.
Well, you just need to have some things defined before we make decisions monetarily, so.
So motion is on the table. You got a second. Call for the vote, please.
When were they gonna put, let me ask, when were they gonna put the plants in?
Pretty much as soon as possible, just to get them in the spring while the weather's still mild.
Right. Well, do you think they can wait on the plants until June?
But I want to know what we're buying.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So again, you have a motion and a second. I would ask point of order to call for a vote.
Okay.
So we're just voting on the tools to put the plants in, but no
Well,
plants?
$500.
That's all they asked for, Dave.
No, I understand.
Come on. I mean, put it this way: if the police chief asked for,
I know, but at this point now, we're just
or
storing
if DPW
tools.
asked for something, they give you a dollar amount not to exceed, right? This is extremely vague. There's no dollar amounts, and they're not actually asking for plants. They're asking for tools and accessories.
Sure. But I don't think we should get the tools. We don't. I mean, we
$500
don't
should
buy the
cover
chief
tools and accessories.
gasoline and say, well, sorry, we don't have any cars for you.
Wait a minute. The police department has nothing to do with this motion.
I realize.
So let's
I'm
get on
using it as an example in terms of when they ask for things, they have details. Same with
Yes.
the DPW. So again, point of order. Let's call for the vote.
I totally agree. Okay, roll call
Dumont?
vote.
No.
Jeromini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
That's good.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you could go back to Parks and Rec, Mark, and please have them define better what they're looking at getting. Please, try to put it down. I mean, there's no dollar amount whatsoever on this motion, so I mean, you need to have some defined amounts. And if they would have had $1,000 on there for plants, and I mean, I'm sure that would have been a different situation. I mean, it's something vague, and we can't operate that way. Okay.
No, absolutely. I understand. And I don't remember to be honest, when this motion was made, I don't remember it being this written in this format or spoken in this format. So I'm not sure if there was a loss in translation or something of that nature with when we were making that, but I will make sure from now on, when we do make a motion, to
Well,
not
I'll tell you
only
what,
be more
even-
specific, but have it read back so that.
Well,
we are
since
clear.
you're Parks and Rec liaison, even if you get your booklet right on, let's say last Friday, you could have had time to put something together from the board to present to the meeting tonight. That's all I'm saying. That would have helped immensely to try to work a motion through like this. So. And, you know, I don't have a problem. I'm sure you could probably bring something back next month.
Yep.
In June, and if we had some more information, it wouldn't be any issue. So.
Well, this is Bob Malik here, okay? I'm looking at your water or your Parks and Recs minutes, okay? And in your minutes, it says beautification subcommittee. Motion by Giamatti, second by Ingram Ham, to release the budgeted funds from the beautification committee to purchase a wheelbarrow, a shovel, a rake, and other necessities. So
Right.
I don't know how you can say you weren't sure about it. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, let's move on at this point. Third recommendation from Parks and Rec was to recommend the council to purchase a swing set and accessories from Miracle Midwest not to exceed $5,000. And I'm assuming that this is going to be for Amenia Park, Mark?
Correct.
Can you?
Yes.
Okay, Dave, you want to say something here?
Yeah, Mr. President, let me jump in. I had forwarded an email to all of council on Monday that included the estimate that Mr. Giamini had gotten from Miracle Midwest. I apologize for that being in the packet. Last Friday, Mark had given that to Mr. Condit and I some time ago, and it just didn't make its way into the packet. But there is the actual written estimate that hopefully all of you had a chance to look at. The total price, $4,015.
Right.
Mr. Condit, is this out of budgetary funds or is this an add-on?
Yeah, Mr. Duff, what we did at the outset of the year was budget, I think it was $125,000 in total. Of that amount, $7,000 was dedicated to Amenia Park improvements, whatever those turn out to be. So yeah,
So it's budgetary.
we're within, yes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve that not to exceed 5,000.
Motion by Duff, second by who was it?
Giamini.
Jeremy's, okay. Discussion. I guess, Mark, from what I could see on here, we're looking at like 3 swings. Is that correct?
I can give you a little, I can share my screen and show you a little bit better what I am specifically talking about for this.
Yeah, we got the
And,
quote here, so.
So let me, no, here is the swing set. This would be this type of structure, if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would be this swing set, and then you would have the 2 tot swings in one, and then the other 2, the ADA swing and the
Okay, so there's
regular
4
belt
swings.
swing in there. And then this is what the inclusive swing looks like. This was upon recommendation by Chris Nordstrom, and that is to create a more of an ADA friendly site. And it's particularly effective at Amenia because we already have the path leading right up to where we would install the swing set.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? Any other
Bob
discussion?
Malik here.
Yeah, Bob.
How will that be mounted to the ground? Is that, the pole's gonna be cemented in, you know, so we don't have a problem of tipping or anything of this nature? How does it get mounted?
I believe they mount them with cement.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sure they
I
probably
didn't
will.
know
Probably
that.
in a case on.
For security. Ask.
What are the installation costs?
That's all I have. Thank
That would be, we can, I believe DPW can handle that part, and then it would be just a matter of what other materials are needed to install it.
So we got $985 left over for installation,
For
essentially,
installation,
with that
right.
motion.
Well, but let me ask you this. If the DPW is going to do that work, they're going to have to buy cement or whatever. Won't that come out of that budget also?
Yeah, that's that extra 900, Bob.
There's
Okay.
$985
Sure.
left out of that budget, out of that motion, so. I'm
Okay.
assuming that would
Thank
probably
you.
cover the installation costs.
Does it have to be inspected also?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I wouldn't think it'd be any different than putting any of the other pieces of exercise equipment or whatever in the park, so. I guess, has that been discussed? Have we discussed that with DPW at all, if they could put this thing in?
Yeah. Because from a liability standpoint, if something happens to it when we install it, no inspection, is that?
Yeah, that is a good point, Mike. Mr. Powell, are you still there?
Maybe.
He has left the building.
Well, I'm sure our administrator can work with our DPW to, I don't think it's gonna be a real complex thing to put in place, so.
Yeah, no, we had
Yeah,
not
it's not-
discussed it yet,
yeah.
but I can talk to Andy about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
Complexity is
So
not
do we
the
want-
issue.
So do we want to, I guess, amend the motion to take and include the installation not to exceed the 7,000 that's budgeted? That kind of makes sense at this point, doesn't it?
I think so. Jennifer, would that make sense?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't get my mute to stop.
Mark, would you accept that friendly?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. That being the case, we were friendly to up that to $7,000 with installation, correct?
hmm
Okay.
That was the correct sum, right, Mike?
Mr. Kardec? Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
That was total
Okay,
budget.
Yeah.
that's within budget, right? Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Jeremini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Item B, Water Management Board recommends council appoint Mike Sargent to the Huron River Watershed Council as a village representative.
So moved.
Tie. It was
So
a
moved.
motion by
Beat
Duff,
you that
second by
time.
Dumont. They got you, Mike.
Uh-huh.
Okay, discussion.
It's a good thing. I believe we're part of the Huron watershed. It's a good thing to have somebody on the as a representative, and there's a lot of good information out there. So
Yep, there sure is. So with that, roll call vote, please.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
And I think that's great. Mr. Sargent has shown interest to do that. So moving on again, we have a resolution from Oakland County for the reimbursement of funds expensed for the county's West Nile virus program.
Mr. President, this is part of the county's annual West Nile virus program. We have presented a plan to them consistent with the plans that we've put in place the last few years, which involves the purchase of some tablets that DPW can drop into some of the storm drains and things like that to keep mosquitoes from developing in those areas. In addition, we've got a quote from Lowe's for small packets of insecticide, anti-mosquito that we can give to residents when they come into the village hall. Again, these are funds that are provided through the county. The resolution that you have before you today is to authorize us to move forward and request reimbursement from the county once we've made those expenditures down the road.
Right.
I'd like to make a motion that we do that.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont to approve the resolution for the West Nile Expense Reimbursement Fund. Roll call vote, please.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Girarmini,
Yes.
Malik.
Yes.
Okay, item D, village representative on the Commerce Township Parks and Recreation Board, and Linda Champagne has been on that board for quite some time, has done a great job on that board representing the village. So I'm going to pass this one off to Mr. Gillum at this point, because I know he's got some information.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. As you've indicated, Linda has been the village representative on the Township Parks and Rec Board. From what I can tell, going back and looking at the minutes from their meetings for more than 6 years. 2 3-year terms, it looks like to me. So, as I think several of you may be aware, her property is for sale. She's in the process of moving out of the village, and she has submitted a letter of resignation to the township from their Parks and Recreation Board. As I understand, historically, that spot has been reserved for a village resident. When I learned that Linda was going to be resigning after moving out of the village, I reached out to Larry Gray, the township supervisor, to make sure that as far as he was concerned, the township board was still going to be interested in having a village resident fill that seat on the township board, on their Parks and Rec board. And I talked to Larry, and without any hesitance, he indicated that that was definitely what the township board would prefer to do. I asked him what they needed from us or from me to make that happen. He indicated to me that what he would like to get from us for the township board's benefit and for their Parks and Rec board to weigh in on is a list of village residents that are interested in filling that seat, that is filling the seat that Linda has held on the board. Linda herself had given me 3 names of people that she thought would be good candidates to replace her. One of those being Mark Girarmini. I've run the idea, bounced it off Mark, and also the other 2 people on the short list that I had gotten from Linda. The other 2 have indicated that their plates are pretty full right now. So the list that we have right now consists of 1, Mr. Girarmini. So at this point, I'm looking for some direction from council. Again, ideally, Larry has asked for a list of candidates. If council would like, I can just forward Mark's name. I don't have any reason to think that there would be a problem with Mark's appointment, but at the same time, my concern is that if for some reason the board wasn't concerned with Mark, that they would look in a different direction to fill that seat, someone other than a village resident. So the other option that I see that we have is if council is interested, is to basically open up the list to any other resident that might be interested. We can establish a deadline. They could submit an application on one of our applications to the village, and then I can compile what would probably be a little bit longer list, and then forward it on to Larry at the township for their consideration. So again, I'm looking for direction from the council as to how you think that we should proceed in putting this list together to give to the township. And again, keep in mind, this is the Township Board of Trustees appointment. This is not our appointment, and the name or names that we give to them, they may or may not end up being on that board. We'd like to think that someone from that list will, but there is no guarantee.
Correct.
I think we should open it up.
Bob Malik here. I think opening it up to the public is a strong recommendation for the simple fact it also puts out to our citizens, maybe somebody new is interested in getting involved with the village, and that indirectly involves them with the village. And I just think it'll open up the idea to additional people in the village.
Okay, so question for me would be, how do we get that out there? I mean, email blast, we could post it on the signs. We can probably,
Put something on the website.
put something on the website, I guess. Yeah, that would probably be,
All the above.
yeah, right. No, I think that'd be a good idea too.
Yes.
So was that a motion, Mr. Malik?
Yes, it is.
I'll second that.
Okay. I'm sure Mark would be a fine representative for the village on that board, but again, it'd probably be a good idea to give a list like Mr. Gillum's saying, so.
And I don't think it's really a good optic for a councilman to be on that board. I think that just shows like we're picking within our own circle.
Well, at least if we give
Again, if we give them a list, then at least
we-
it's,
yeah, that's right. It's up to them to, like Mr. Gillum.
Yes, but a list of one is kind of limited, right?
No, I agree,
list of
yeah.
four,
So
three or
if
four
if
then.
we, it is their appointment to that, it's their board, so I think
And
that's-
to be clear, Mark Germini, are you interested in that position?
I'm happy to do it if the,
if they so
township
chose you.
board- absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that was a motion by Malik, second by Duff. I think we've had enough discussion, so roll call.
O'Brien,
Yeah, yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Giromini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we'll try to compile a list one way or the other. As far as the deadline goes, really no rush to fill it, but I mean, it'd be nice to get things going on it, so.
Well, the Township Board of Trustees met last night, so the earliest that they would be able to take any action would be at their meeting in June. So I think what I will encourage anyone who's interested in the position, either who might be watching the meeting now or who watches the video of the meeting later, or who sees something on the website, on a sign, or by way of email blast, would be to submit probably an application on the form that we use for our boards and commissions to the village within, by the end of the month.
Right.
So within the next 2.5 weeks, something like that, by Memorial Day, basically. And then that will give me enough time to put that information together, to put the list together, and then forward that on to Mr. Gray's office out at the township. So.
That sounds great. Okay, thank you. Item E, set topics for May 26th work session, and it's going to be budget.
So motion to set as budget.
Sounds fair.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Malik, to hold a wet work session for May 26th as a budget work session. I think that'll probably fill it up pretty good, so I don't think there's any other items that we need to have on that night either, so. Roll call vote.
Is that going to be a Zoom meeting?
Yep. Mr. Netter,
Yeah.
if I could jump in, I guess what I would like council to think about is whether or not we want to potentially conduct that work session in person here at the Village Hall. Jennifer can correct me, as I understand the orders that are still in place from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services limit us to 25 people at a gathering. And as I understand the history of the village, we normally do not get a lot of attendees for the budget work sessions. I would expect we'll get a couple. We had a comment tonight from one resident about a budget issue. But between the members of council and the members of the staff that would need to be there, we would still be able to accommodate, I would think, probably 10 to 12 to maybe even probably 10 to 12 residents at least.
Right.
We'd be put in a position where we would not be able to go forward with the meeting. So I've talked with Mr. Kondik about it. He's indicated he can handle the meeting either way. He can either do it remotely via Zoom, or he can do it in person downstairs. So I guess it's a question of what council's preference is.
So Dave, when you say it can accommodate 10 to 12, you mean with the spacing requirements?
Yeah, 10 to 12 above and beyond all of us being there, yeah.
Okay, and satisfy spacing and, everyone's wearing masks and all of that.
Yeah, we'd still be socially distanced. Everyone would still be expected to wear masks. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
And then what happens if we go over that number?
Now, the problem is when you get number 20, the person number 26 that wants to walk into the room, and unless someone is willing to leave, then
Right.
we're in a position where if we're going to comply with the DHHS order, we have to cancel the meeting. If we go ahead and move forward with the meeting at that point in time, then technically we are in violation of the order.
Yeah, let's keep it Zoom. Be safe.
That would be the safer course. But again, I guess it's just a question of what council's preference is.
Well, if you remember, last May, we held our budget work session in person down in council chambers, and everything went fine. We could probably have a backup of some sort, and I guess maybe that might be something we might be able to talk with Ken or Brian or, Zoom merge live with, as far as maybe having some sort of a remote, is that going to be videotaped at this point, Dave? That meeting?
Yeah, I think the budget session, I think it would be appropriate to videotape it, yes.
I agree. So if that's the case, it could be live. We could have maybe like some remote setup in the conference room upstairs if we needed to have an overflow. Just an option, I guess, possibly.
Mr. President, we have done that before. I've actually set up the computer upstairs and monitored that for anybody that wanted to speak when we were trying to limit the amount of people that were
That's
downstairs.
what I thought. So, I mean, that might be a possibility and still have it in place. I think it would, personally, I think a work session for a budget would be very more substantially taken care of having it in person in chambers.
So Dave, we can talk about this later, but you just need to make sure your notices, as you know, if you were going to do like a hybrid reference, both in person and virtual attendance.
I agree with Mark. I think that it sounds like a lot of work to figure this out over the course of 2 weeks. Not that it's impossible. Of course, we can do it. But everybody's used to Zoom now. And that way, there's no way that we can hit that number of 26.
What's the rest of council think?
Well, you know me, I always have a problem with Zoom.
So you'd
You're
rather
doing
meet in
fine now,
person?
Bill.
Kind of in line with Mark and
I'd
Dave.
rather, Bob Mail, I'd rather have it in person, but I'll go any way the council wants.
Mark? I might be a tiebreaker here.
I think my heart says in person, my brain says Zoom. So I don't trust either my heart or my brain.
So
that
you
much,
go with the
but
heart or the brain?
That's my problem for me. But I guess I think I would probably lean towards Zoom right now.
Gosh. Mr. Condit,
Sir.
any choices?
Oh, you think I'm going to toss it?
Hey, it's your meeting, buddy.
Well, I mean, Mark does make it 4-3. You know, I will tell you that.
I would go 4-4, but yeah.
I will tell you that I don't, either way is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a spread out. I've got a lot of information. You've seen me before. There's like 3 or 4 chairs in the front that I have to put all my stuff on just to make sure I can answer a question that may come up. So I can do it just as easily either way.
What's easiest and most effective for you, Mike?
You know, I don't think I have to share a screen, so I'm not worried about that. As long as everybody can follow along with page numbers and that sort of thing.
It's just a lot easier to discuss a lot of line items and stuff in person, in my opinion. I mean, like I said, last May, we had no issue.
Well, can we do it this way? I'll motion that our next budget meeting work session.
I don't think we
will
even
be
have
via
to have a
Zoom.
motion. I think we just want to have a consensus on it. That's all.
Well, is there a consensus though? I guess.
Yeah, I
that's-
guess is there a consensus? That's,
Yeah, I mean, we can just make a quick vote and move on.
I can switch to Zoom. I think I finally found the laptop in my house that
Bill
Well,
just turn it off for the next 2 weeks. So,
yeah, I got plenty of time.
as long as the battery holds up, yeah. I guess if
You
it's
know,
gonna be
Bill
that,
O'Brien, Bill, this is Bob Malik. It's nice to find somebody else having problems instead of just me.
Bob, you're a pro now.
Yeah, I know.
Come over and help me, Bob.
It's three meetings without a problem.
I guess if it's not that big a deal, I mean, if everybody would rather go Zoom, I guess we could go Zoom on it. But is that what I'm hearing?
No.
Let's take a vote then.
Pretty evenly split down the middle.
Yeah, I know. Let's go vote. Okay, Duff,
Yes.
Giormini, which way are we going? Yes, what? Yes, in person or yes, Zoom?
Oh, let's go with yes, Zoom.
Yes, Zoom. Mark,
Yes, Zoom.
Mr. Malik,
In person.
Mr. Dumont.
Zoom.
Uh-oh. Mr. O'Brien.
I'm the switcher, Zoom.
Okay, that's it. Done deal. I guess it'll be Zoom.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I want to know your vote, Brian.
Oh, I'd rather have it in person.
You're not going to leave us hanging.
But we've already
Where
got
did you
4. It's 4-3. We're
Well,
screwed
that's
already.
okay.
so-
I'd still like to know.
Yep, I was in person.
I'd still like to know.
Mr. McNutt?
All right. And how about you, Michael?
Said before Zoom.
So we're out, Bob.
Okay.
We're loners.
Sorry,
Feel
Bob.
better.
Looks like we have to stay home. Okay.
sorry to rock the boat here, council, but I do appreciate the input. So,
Well, we had to make a decision on it, so. Moving on, pending business. I don't believe we have any pending. Is there anything that anybody has pending that needs to be addressed?
nothing that I'm aware of, Mr.
Being
President.
none. Update from Police Chief Ellsworth.
It's been a heck of a couple weeks here for me, but I really don't have anything to pass on other than thanks for keeping track of me the last couple weeks. It's been kind of rough medically, and but I'm back at it, and we're doing some training now. And I had training today, have additional training tomorrow, and then it's back to normal. So we're good. Looking forward to a good summer. We've got a lot of boat issues taken care of thanks to Mr. Duff. We really appreciate his expertise in some of the things we've had to do. We're getting our boat into tip-top shape right now, and won't be long before we're out there quite often. So thank you very much for all your thoughts and prayers over the last couple, 2-3 weeks. And I'm back. So that's
By the
it.
way, you did a nice job this morning at the first responders,
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
yeah, webinar.
It was very interesting. A lot of different comments from a lot of different communities. And, you know, I was very pleased that you, as well as Mr. Gillum, were there. It was nice to have a good shout out for Wolverine Lake this morning from them. I think you guys and one other person from maybe Waterford, as far as representatives, were there. But I appreciate it, and I thought it went pretty well. And I got a lot of good input, and we work really well together in our community. So, but
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
sounds like everybody has done a great job at working together last year here.
Yeah, it's been tough, but we did it.
Super.
That's
Well, great,
it.
thank you. Update from Mr. Kondek.
As is our usual custom, I make some very brief remarks about the budget, which you will find in the form of a PDF in your wolverinelake.com mailboxes. In short order, we'll arrange to have hard copies distributed to everybody, including you, Bob, if you pop in tomorrow. I would like to tell you that we're sort of in flux on a lot of things. It's essentially a break-even budget, given certain assumptions, and realize that it's never a static document. It's something that You're going to see some changes over the next several weeks. One of the things that we're looking at, and we're in the very preliminary, both Dave and I have read through several 150 some pages of this American Rescue Plan. And as far as we can tell, I don't think it rides to the rescue in terms of helping us with our roads. They're very interested in doing water projects, bridge projects, even local broadband. But it doesn't sort of sound like that's that road rehabilitation is one of the things that they're trying to support. They specifically mention things that they're not going to support, which is like pension contributions. If there's a shortfall there or something like that, that's off the table. That's not going to happen. Mr. Powell and Dave and I gathered together and went over some road funding numbers, and they are very, very onerous. I don't think we can do them as far as the way they were presented over the 5-year period. It's a heavy, heavy general fund contribution in order to make it work. Remember, I've told you guys this till I'm blue in the face. You probably don't want to hear it anymore, but our local road funding sources to be able to do projects are almost non-existent. We're hand to mouth in terms of all the local road funds that we get are basically used for operations. We can contribute some major road funds. We can then supplement that with general fund money, as we did in fiscal 20, to the tune of about $250,000. But the costs that we're looking at here are far in excess of that. So we're going to have to sharpen our pencils and see if we come up with something better. I think the takeaway tonight is that it doesn't look like there's anything from an outside source just yet, but we'll be attending the webinars that are going to be scheduled very soon, and be able to ask questions and see if we can get some better information. In general, you'll see in a memo from me, if you read not only the budget numbers, but supporting documentation. We've got some good capital projects in mind. We've got the, fingers crossed we can do something with that Park and Rec grant. Andy's looking at getting a new tractor. We want to convert the Hellsford pump house into an augmentation well. The police chief has some new equipment and a new vehicle on in his plan for this year. And so you'll be able to see all that and have a good idea as to where that's coming from. No staffing level changes were assumed. There may be a twist in that. But I'll lay that all out for you at the work session. And as always, of course, in the interim, if there's anything I can do with meeting a one-on-one with you or answering any questions you may have once you've got the document in hand, very glad to do that. Very glad to garner some interest. I had a good meeting with the water board. Mr. Hurst was very engaged in trying to come up with really good numbers, which was the first time in a long time that I've ever sat down with them. But we've got input from everybody, our department heads, obviously, all our boards and commissions. And so, I guess we've got buy-in of a sort, but still some big questions that need to be answered.
Great, thank you, sir. As always, look forward to see what you put together, and you always do a fine job at doing that. So,
thank you, Mr. President.
Update from Administrator Gillum.
And just probably Mike's last budget for the village too, I would indicate. So today was the deadline for applications for the treasurer position. I did not get updated information today, but as of about 10 days ago, we had 10 or 11 applicants for the position. And GovHR was expecting a last minute rush. That's the norm. So I think we will have probably a number of good candidates to try to fill some very big shoes. So
absolutely.
Just a couple other points. In case anyone either on council or at home was wondering, the Planning Commission recommendation relative to the conditional rezoning at 2355 South Commerce, the former bank property, obviously was not on the agenda again tonight. I have been in touch with the applicant's engineer. They have been in touch with the Road Commission for Oakland County. obtaining some additional traffic information about the intersection of Decker and South Commerce. And the last emails that I traded with the engineer last week, he indicated that they felt that they would be ready for the recommendation to be brought before council at our June meeting. So at this point, expect to see that recommendation on our June agenda. Our first lake treatment, weather permitting, will be next Monday, the 17th. So for those of you that live on the lakefront, you can expect to see the little yellow placards posted in your yards on Friday. And then finally, just a word to the public, keep an eye on the village website. We've started to have discussions here at the Village Hall about opening the village back up to the public during basically regular business hours without having to make an appointment first. We're trying to work through the details on that. We're still going to be asking people to wear face masks when they come into the Village Hall. We're still going to be asking them to socially distance, but we will not be requiring people to call to set up an appointment to take care of routine business. That's the way it looks. Again, keep your eye on the website. I'm guessing that that probably is a change that we will make effective as of June 1. So that would be the week after Labor Day. But again, I'll keep everyone posted, and to our residents, keep an eye on the website. That's what I've got tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dave. Council comments. Let's go, Mr. McNutt.
Nice meeting, and I just want to say, Mark, we weren't picking on you with the budget.
No, I get it.
All right.
Mr. Malik.
Oh, a couple of things. Great meeting. Chief, glad to see you're doing well. Jennifer, we like the haircut, and everybody else stay safe.
Okay, Mark, Jeremy.
Hopefully we're finally in the right trend with the weather, and we'll start warming up a little bit, and everything will get a little nicer outside, and we can all be outside a little bit more often.
Okay. Mr. O'Brien.
Yeah, Chief, good to see you back. Everybody have a great week. Who do I call to see about getting in the golf outing for the fireworks? Is it June 9th? It's in June.
I can email you the link, Bill.
Onwards and upwards.
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Dumont.
Yeah, glad you're doing well, Chief.
Mr. Duff.
Glad to see you're doing well, Chief. Mike, can't wait to see your budget. Jennifer, nice haircut. And everybody else, stay safe.
And I'll make it short. I just have everybody have a pleasurable and safe Memorial Day weekend. So with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Duff.
Motion to adjourn.
I think that was second by Jeremy. I think he caught you. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Giramini,
Yes.
Malik,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and looking forward to seeing everybody on the 26th for our work session.
Yes,
Yes.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night.
Good night.